Most side hustles are not going to make you rich. They are going to make you busy. And there is a massive difference between those two things that nobody in the side hustle space wants to admit, because the people telling you to start one are usually making their money by selling you the idea of starting one. I know that's a hard thing to hear if you're currently driving for a rideshare app at midnight, or packaging orders in your living room after a full day of work, or editing videos for clients on weekends while your family is in the next room, wondering when you're going to be present again. I've been in versions of all of those situations. I chased the side hustle dream hard. I believed everything the internet told me about it, and for a long time I was exhausted, underpaid, and completely convinced that I just needed to work harder and it would eventually turn into something. It didn't. Not until I understood something that changed how I saw the whole picture entirely. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you why the side hustle industry is one of the most profitable scams operating in plain sight right now, the specific trap that keeps most people running in circles instead of actually building wealth, and what the difference actually looks like between a side hustle that keeps you poor and one that genuinely changes your financial life. Stay with me, because the thing I'm going to show you in the middle of this video is the reason most people spend 5 years on side hustles and end up exactly where they started. Let me take you back to a specific evening in my life. It was a Tuesday. I had just finished a full day of work. I was tired in that specific way where your eyes hurt and your back aches and all you want is to sit down and do absolutely nothing. But instead I opened my laptop because I had 3 freelance projects due that week, and a course I had paid for that I hadn't touched in 2 months, and a spreadsheet tracking 7 different income streams I was supposedly building simultaneously. I looked at that spreadsheet and I felt something I hadn't let myself feel in a long time. I felt like a fool, because when I added everything up, the hours I was putting in, the subscriptions I was paying for tools and platforms and courses, the energy I was spending, the sleep I was losing, when compared it to what was actually coming in, the number was embarrassing. I was making less per hour across all my side hustles combined than I would have made asking for a single raise at my main job, and I had been at this for over a year. That spreadsheet moment is what this video is about, because I don't think I was uniquely foolish. I think millions of people are sitting inside that exact same spreadsheet right now, just not looking at the full picture yet. Here's what nobody tells you about the side hustle industry, and I mean the industry because that's what it is: a fully operational, extremely profitable industry built around selling you the dream of escaping your job. Every course teaching you to dropship, every YouTube channel showing you a laptop on a beach, every Instagram post about passive income and financial freedom, every guru with a free webinar that ends with a $997 offer. All of it is part of the same machine, and the machine's primary product is not the thing they're teaching you to sell. The primary product is hope, packaged, monetized, repeatedly resold hope. Think about the most successful people in the side hustle content space. How are they making their money? Not from the side hustle they're teaching, from teaching the side hustle. The dropshipping guru's real business is selling the dropshipping course. The freelancing coach's real income is the freelancing coaching program. The passive income influencer's actual passive income comes from the audience watching them talk about passive income. They found the one genuinely scalable business model in the whole ecosystem, selling the idea of a business model to people who want one, and they are very, very good at it. I paid for 3 different courses in 2 years: a freelance writing course, a print-on-demand course, an affiliate marketing course. Combined, I spent just over $800. The total revenue I generated from those 3 methods across 12 months was $340. I lost $460 chasing systems that the people selling them had largely moved on from by the time I was buying. And the worst part, I didn't even blame them, because they had showed me testimonials, real people with real results. What they hadn't shown me was the full picture of how many people bought the course and made nothing. That number is never in the marketing. It is never in the webinar. It lives in the comment sections and the Facebook groups where the quiet failures gather and eventually stop showing up. But here's where the side hustle trap gets really interesting, because even when a side hustle actually works, even when you do the thing right and money starts coming in, there's a second layer to this problem that almost nobody talks about. And this second layer is the one that kept me stuck the longest. When I was freelancing, writing content for businesses on the side, I eventually got decent at it. I built up a small roster of clients. I was making an extra $600, $700, sometimes $800 a month on top of my salary. By most definitions, I had a successful side hustle. People around me were impressed. I felt like I was on the right track. But here's what I wasn't seeing clearly. I was trading time for money, again, just like my day job, except worse, and because at my day job I had benefits, paid leave, a predictable schedule, and someone else handling my taxes. With the freelancing, I had none of that. I was essentially working a second job with worse conditions and no security, calling it entrepreneurship to make it feel like something it wasn't. Every month I could only earn what I had time to produce. If I got sick, income stopped. If a client disappeared, income dropped. If I wanted to take a holiday, I had to either work through it or accept that I wouldn't be paid. There was no leverage, no compounding, no moment where the work I had already done continued generating income while I slept. I was running on a treadmill and calling it a journey, moving constantly, getting nowhere new. This is the trap inside the trap. The first trap is the scam, the course that doesn't deliver, the method that doesn't work, the guru who made their money teaching, not doing. But the second trap is subtler and more dangerous. It's the side hustle that actually works but still keeps you poor because of the fundamental model it's built on. Time for money is a ceiling, and no matter how hard you run, you cannot break through a ceiling by running faster. You break through it by changing the structure entirely. Now here's the part I promised you at the beginning. The thing that reframes this whole conversation. There are two types of income, and understanding the difference between them is more valuable than any side hustle course ever sold. The first type is active income. You work, you get paid, you stop working, the payment stops. Freelancing, Uber driving, tutoring, consulting by the hour, dog walking, selling handmade products. Almost everything marketed as a side hustle falls into this category. It's real money, but it is fundamentally limited by the number of hours available to you, which is the same number available to everyone, rich or poor. The second type is productive income. Your money or your work generates returns that continue without you actively repeating the effort. A piece of content that keeps getting views, a digital product sold repeatedly from a single creation, an investment that compounds, rental income from a property, a business with systems that run without your constant presence. The difference between these two types of income is the difference between a job and an asset, and almost everything sold in the side hustle industry is a job dressed up in entrepreneurship language. Here's a real comparison that made this land for me personally. I spent about 150 hours over several months building out my freelance writing side hustle, pitching clients, doing the work, managing relationships, chasing invoices. In that time, I earned roughly $2,100. A friend of mine spent roughly the same amount of time building a simple YouTube channel in a niche he understood. He didn't make much in the first several months, but 18 months later, that channel was generating $1,400 a month from ad revenue alone, while he uploaded maybe once a week and spent the rest of his time living his life. The same 150 hours of initial effort was now producing ongoing income that didn't require him to show up and repeat it. Same time invested, completely different financial structure. One was a job, one was beginning to become an asset. Now, I have to be honest with you here because this is where a lot of finance videos go wrong. They expose the problem beautifully and then offer solutions that are just as unrealistic as the thing they just criticized. So let me be clear about what I'm not saying. I'm not saying side hustles are universally bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't start one. And I'm definitely not saying the YouTube channel or digital product route is easy or fast, because it isn't. My friend's channel took 18 months to reach that income level. There were months where he made almost nothing and seriously considered quitting. The overnight success story is just as much of a lie as every other piece of marketing in this space. What I am saying is this: most people jump into side hustles without ever asking the most important question first. And that question is, does this model have a ceiling or does it have leverage? A ceiling means your income is capped by your time. Leverage means your income can grow beyond your time. Before you start anything, before you buy the course, before you sign up for the platform, before you spend a single weekend hour on it, ask yourself which category it falls into, because the answer determines whether 5 years of effort builds something or just exhausts you. So what does actually work? And more importantly, what worked for me after I stopped chasing every shiny system and got honest about what I was actually building toward? The first shift I made was stopping the multi-stream obsession. I had 7 income streams I was supposedly building. What I actually had was 7 half-built things, none of which had enough of my attention to grow into something real. The moment I dropped 6 of them and focused everything on one, the quality of what I was building changed completely. Depth beats breadth in the early stages every single time. Pick one thing. Go deep. Give it enough time and attention to actually find out if it works before abandoning it. The second shift was choosing a model with leverage built in from the start, not something that paid me per hour or per task. Something where the work I did this week could still be generating value 6 months from now. For some people, that's content, a channel, a newsletter, a podcast. For others, it's a digital product, a template, a guide, a tool someone pays for repeatedly from a single creation. For others, it's building skills that eventually command significantly higher rates, or moving into a field where equity and ownership are on the table. The specific vehicle matters less than whether leverage exists inside it. The third shift was treating my side income as investment capital rather than lifestyle upgrade. This one was painful to implement because extra money is incredibly tempting to spend. Every time my side income grew, I wanted to feel it in my life immediately. But the people who actually escape the cycle are almost universally the ones who take the extra income and put it to work. Into investments, into building the actual asset, into things that compound, rather than letting it disappear into a slightly more comfortable version of the same life. The fourth shift was the hardest. I stopped measuring success by monthly income income and started measuring it by whether I was building something that could eventually run without me. That reframe changes everything about the decisions you make. It makes you more patient, it makes you more selective, and it stops you from celebrating a busy month as progress when you haven't actually moved closer to freedom at all. Let me show you what this difference looks like over time in real numbers. Two people, both have day jobs. Both decide to spend 10 hours a week on a side project. Same starting point. Person A starts driving for a rideshare app 10 hours a week at roughly $15 to $18 per hour after expenses. That's about $700 to $800 a month. Real money, immediate gratification. 5 years later, still $700 to $800 a month, still 10 hours a week, and not 1 hour of that 5 years of work is continuing to generate anything. Person B spends those same 10 hours building a niche content channel. Month 1, almost nothing. Month 6, a little. Month 12, $200. Month 18, $800. Month 30, $2,500 and growing, with a back catalog of content still generating views and income from work done 2 years earlier. 5 years in, the channel is an asset with real value, an audience, and income that doesn't require 10 new hours every week to maintain. Same 10 hours a week, same 5-year period. One person has a part-time job they never escape. The other has an asset they could eventually sell, license, or live off. The gap isn't talent, it isn't luck, it's the model. Here's what I want you to take from this. The side hustle dream was sold to you in the language of freedom, passive income, be your own boss, escape the 9 to 5. But most of what's being sold underneath that language is just a different version of the thing you're already doing. Trading your time for someone else's benefit, just with a different name on the arrangement. Real financial freedom doesn't come from having more jobs. It comes from building things that work when you're not working. That distinction sounds simple. Living it is not. It requires patience in a world that sells you overnight transformations. It requires focus in an environment specifically engineered to scatter your attention. And it requires honesty about what you're actually building, not what the marketing told you it would become. You are not lazy for struggling with a side hustle that never grew. You are not a failure for buying a course that didn't deliver. You were sold something designed to feel like a solution while keeping you dependent on the system selling it. Now you see the structure, and seeing the structure is the first step to building something different. So here's your one action this week. Write down every side project or income stream you are currently pursuing or considering. Next to each one, write either the word ceiling or the word leverage. Be honest, be brutal. And if everything on your list says ceiling, that list needs to change before the next hour you spend on any of it does. Your time is the most finite resource you have. The people who end up financially free are not the ones who spent the most hours working extra. They are the ones who eventually pointed those hours at something that compounded. Point yours in the right direction.